Megan Dalla Camina, welcome to the show.
So good to be here.
So great to have you on once again. It's an absolute pleasure. We are at episode number 3 of our mini series. So, for those listening in who would like to hear the previous episodes, I will drop the link to those episodes in the show notes. And for those of you listening, let me introduce Megan. So, Megan Dalla Camina is a mother, an award winning expert in women's leadership and empowerment, with a notable career spanning 2 decades as a corporate executive at IBM, GE, and PwC, and over a decade as a successful entrepreneur. As the founder and CEO of Women Rising, Megan leverages her vast experience to help women achieve clarity, build confidence, and become authentic leaders. And her latest book, Women Rising: The Forces That Hold Us Back and the Tools to Help Us Rise, has been hailed life-changing and is a #1 bestseller on Amazon. So, Megan, I'm so thrilled to have you back on today. And as you know from our previous episodes, we're delving into themes from your book. And today will be all about the section 3, which is all about the tools to help us rise. So this really focuses on the practical tools that helps all of us rise, themes of confidence, boundary setting, self-compassion, and strategies to take action are provided within the book. And again, for those listening, I will drop the link to purchase the book in the show notes as well. It is incredibly transformative. I'm completely obsessed with this book, guys, so I could not recommend it highly enough. Megan, for this section of the book, any sort of commentary that you would like to provide as just sort of kicking off to give a bit of context to those listening?
Yeah, well, first, thank you for your kind words. You're so gorgeous. So this section is really where we get into the nitty-gritty. And, you know, there are a lot of tools in here, but they fit into 6 core sections. So we're looking at life vision and creating a life vision. We're looking at the path to purpose and finding meaning, career evolution and how you evolve your career in the direction that you want it to go, authentic leadership. And we are also going really deep into well-being and different aspects of well-being. You know, we talk about those things that you just mentioned, you know, boundaries and self-compassion and seasons of our lives. So this is the toolkit. And of course, confidence is the 6th one, where we're looking at really a pretty in-depth toolkit for how we build true, authentic, conscious confidence in our lives. So yeah, it's juicy, lots of tips, reflection, questions, and you can really dive in and out, which is what I love about how we ended up creating this section of the book, so that you can sort of dip in and dip out depending on where you are at and what you need on any particular day or season.
Yeah, I love that. It's definitely a book that you, as you said, you can refer back to constantly, which is one of the absolute benefits. And one thing that I loved about the most, we had a number of people that had some questions around, I guess, tools that can support us in our everyday lives. And so I'm going to bring some of those to you now. So one of them was from a mum, and I so resonate with this question that came in, because I feel like every person, every parent I speak to some extent feels this. So she basically said that she struggles with feeling like she's not doing enough for the kids and it's draining her. So whether it's not doing enough extracurricular activities or enough homework time or enough on the weekends to keep them busy, she asked, how can I cultivate more self-compassion and be kinder to myself in this parenting journey? And just on that, I hear this all the time. And I think there's an aspect of perhaps social media, or with us being all connected, there's this whole thing of like, is your kid doing karate? Well, my kid's already at level 2 in tennis. Oh, my, da, 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 da. Like, there's so much going on that we don't mean to, but people, it's like this competitive tension sometimes. And it can leave us feeling less than as parents. So would love your insights.
Oh, there's so much going on in this question, right? And I just had this visual as you were saying this of, you know, those, we see it on ads, and I'm sure we've all seen it in our homes, where we've agonized over the Christmas presents, you know, when we have really little kids like toddlers, and we've got them the biggest, fanciest new thing. And what do they play with? They play with the box that it came in. And I think it's such a powerful analogy for, like, what do our kids really need? They need us. They need time. They need attention. They need to be seen. They need to be heard. They need to be valued. They need to be loved. That's it. That's what our kids need. And you can transfer that to any age and any stage. Yes, it changes. You know, when they're little, they need more physicality from us. When they're in their teenage years, they need more emotional support from us. My son's 20, nearly 24. So, like, I've done this full spectrum. And, you know, one of the questions that I would ask anyone who's facing this is, like, again, like, we come back to those inner critic stories that we have as parents. What is driving your feeling of unworthiness or not enoughness as a parent? What is it? Is it comparison? That you're looking around at the karate and the, you know, the flute lessons and the whatever it is, and that you are comparing yourself? And what meaning are you making from that? What meaning are you making from the time that you have and the time that you don't have, from what they're doing and what they're not doing, right? Because it's those two things. It is, what's the story and what's the meaning? And if we can break those things down, then we can start to detangle reality from conjecture, projection, and how that impacts us. And, you know, for anyone who's got the story of we should be doing more, me as a parent, my child as the child, I would encourage you to look towards simplicity. Like, if we took things off, because our kids are stressed. They are stressed. Our kids are more anxious than they have ever been in the history of the universe, right? And a lot of that comes from this, we need to do more, you need to be better all the time. So what are we feeding in our kids as well? With that, how are we implanting our stories of we need to do more and I'm not good enough because you're not doing more into our kids' consciousness? So, you know, like, I think we just need to give ourselves a break and give our kids a break. I would highly recommend Dr. Shafali's work around parenting, you know, in this and other areas. And there is so much grace for everyone in the family in less comparison, less activity, less judgment, less stress, less busyness, and you doing your own inner critic work on your own stories. And, like, where does that come from? Does it come from how you were raised? Does it come from comparing yourself to what you're seeing in your, you know, in your school group or on social media? And then how do we start to quieten that down?
It is so tricky, isn't it? And I love what you're saying. And as you were talking, it made me think of, so I was brought up in a migrant household. I'm half Nigerian and half Greek, and my parents came back to, mum was born here, but back to this country when they had me. And there was that big sort of push around, we are so fortunate to be in this country. You will succeed, and you will succeed at everything. So that race that you're doing, you will come first. And, you know, that if you got 99, why didn't you get 100 in that test? What happened? Where's that 1%? Where did it go? And so what that bred in me was this perfectionism, which, as I said, I'm a recovering perfectionist now, but, you know, everything has to be excellent. And if it's 1% under, I'm a failure. And I think it's funny, isn't it? Because I think it's driven me to be reasonably, I guess, driven and, I guess, successful, I say, in talking mutts in the things that I'm passionate about. However, there's always that strong inner critic that just, you know, is always just hovering in the background, and the anxiety that breeds and all of that good stuff. So as you're talking, just this question around get our kids to do more and be more, and I can just feel that pressure too, because growing up in a household where I did do everything, but I had to be excellent, you know, doesn't necessarily breed like a 100, you know, the perfect child. It certainly doesn't. Like, we're all just doing the best we can, right?
Yeah, and I think it's like, you bring up something else. Thank you for sharing that. You bring up something else really important that I was really conscious of when I was parenting. Well, I'm still parenting, but, you know, in those more formative years, of what do I want to carry forward to my child
Mm.
how I was parented, and what do I want to let go of? And how do I get really conscious and intentional around that? Because otherwise, like, this is why we just see, like, we just see the cycle, and how we were parented, we parent. And, you know, that really revolutionized my parenting and bringing through all those beautiful things of how I was parented that I wanted to carry through, and those values, and that these things didn't serve me so much. And I'm going to break that chain. And I'm going to very intentionally not do those things because I want my child to have a different experience. And this, for that person who asked the question, this could be one of those things, right? Could be something completely different, but yeah, we need to be awake to this and be in it when we're experiencing it. Like when we're in that, oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough, I don't feel it. Okay, pause. What's going on? You know, write it down. Catch the story, what we've talked about previously.
Yeah, I love that. Another question. I'm a mum who recently returned to work after maternity leave, and I'm struggling with feeling disconnected from my old self. How can I regain my confidence at work? And disconnected it's just screams to me. It's just such a common feeling that so many parents have. I speak to parents on the daily, disconnected from their old selves at work, but even just in general. So would love your thoughts on this, Megan.
Yeah, so I think there's disconnection, and then there's this sense of like you're not the same person you were, whether it's your first child or whether it's your fifth child. Does anyone still have 5 children? Probably. Whether it's your third child, right? That, like, what are you disconnected from? And how have you integrated this new version of yourself? I think is the first question that I would ask. Because, I mean, I certainly remember after I had my son, I wasn't, of course, you're not the same person, and trying to get back the same connection that you had prior, post, is maybe the wrong goal. So, you know, there's that piece of integrating, well, who am I now in this season? What do I bring? What have I let go of? What have I gotten? How have I developed? And then what is the connection that you need? Because you may be feeling disconnected from things, you're just not important anymore. But there may be critical connection pieces, particularly like when you go back to work. How do you reform connections with work colleagues? You know, with your boss, with the work that you are doing? How do you get reconnected and reacquainted with yourself? What does that mean? Like, what's missing for you? Is it connection with your body? Is it connection with your spirit? Is it connection with your girlfriends? What will make you feel connected and grounded? And then how do you start to reintegrate some of that? So specificity is your friend in this situation, rather than just a generalized, I feel disconnected, like, let's go in and let's work out, well, what is that? Where is that disconnection coming from? Sometimes disconnection is that grounding. Like, I don't feel grounded. I don't feel connected in my body, particularly after we've given birth, right? Because we've just given our bodies away in so many ways. How do I get that back? So specificity around what is it? What do I need? And then what are the small or large ways in which I can start to get that connection for myself? Does that make sense for you?
It
Because you
does.
hear
So I'm
this all
going
the
to bring,
time.
yeah, I've got to bring an example to the table. So I often hear from parents that I feel like I've lost my identity because the way in which I was approaching life previously, I can't do that anymore. And we've spoken
Yeah.
even in previous episodes in this mini series that, you know, I can't work as hard as I did. I can't throw myself into the passions that I had previously. I might have done a run club and a basketball thing on a Thursday night. I can't do that anymore. And, you know, I used to hang out on a Friday night and have Friday night after work drinks. And that was my way to socialize. And all of these things have been sort of taken away from me. I love my child. Absolutely. But I'm finding that I'm kind of doing the bare minimum, and I'm trying at work, I'm trying to do the highest priority ticket items. The other stuff will just have to wait. And then I also just have to, navigate being there for my child. And then I'm working late at night to catch up on all the things. Who am I now? Because I just feel like I'm constantly running circles in this rat race. So what are some of the tools there that might support us in finding this new identity that we've created?
Yeah, and there's like I completely get this, right? And lived through it, see this with so many thousands of women, in my Women Rising community. Part of this is about release. So part of this is about letting go of who I used to be and letting go of the season that I used to be in. Because if we don't do that, we're constantly banging up against an old version of ourselves that we are never going to get back. And there may need to be a grieving process about that, because I used to do this and I used to be this and I can't do it anymore. And sometimes we have to grieve that. Well, I miss that. But often we don't acknowledge that. We just try and get it back. Or we just feel badly about ourselves because I'm no longer that. And I can no longer do that. So we feel that sense of loss. So let's acknowledge that, I'm not that anymore. I can't do Friday night drinks. Yeah, or I can't do 5 a.m. gym, whatever that looks like for you. And then let's create this new version, this new season. And I love talking about seasons because it puts us firmly where we are. Okay, I am now in the season of new baby, toddler, part-time work, not full-time work. Okay, great. What does this season look like? How do I define what I want to feel like now? And how do I set realistic expectations for myself about what's possible now, not that comparison again to who I used to be and what I used to be able to do, because it is a no-win situation. We're always going to lose when we do that. So that's how we redefine. That's how we claim our agency and our power, in that acknowledgement, owning, okay, this is where I am. Great. What does this look like? How do I make this the best season yet for me?
Yeah, I love that. Resonates very highly with me too. So very well said. Okay, another question that came in. I'm a dad who's trying to focus on building my career, but I'm also in a season of full-on parenting. How can I give myself permission to focus on my professional goals while still being present with my children?
Yeah. So I would love this dad to get really specific around what success looks like in each area. So what is success? Because again, same thing. It may look very different now in terms of success at work than it did 5 years ago in a different season. But we carry that forward, and those expectations just beat us over the head all of the time. So let's get really clear and specific. Okay, I now have these dual roles and I want to be a very present father and I want to still be successful and hit goals at work. Okay, what does that look like? What are the goals? What are the success metrics that I'm setting for myself at work? How do I clearly communicate those with your boss if you have one, or for yourself if you're in your own business? And then use that as the metric. So you're not using an old metric to judge your current success and your current goals. That will help immensely. And what can go? What is no longer relevant based on this current version of success? And then what does it look like at home? As an active, present father, what are the things that really matter? And what's going to fuel that? How do I do that? And what doesn't matter at all? So that you can, see what we're doing. We're just getting a lot of specificity and clarity, which reduces our mental load, increases our emotional engagement and commitment. And then we adjust as we go. It's not we do it once and we're done. We adjust. Is this working? Is there too much conflict? is one taking priority when I really want them both? Yeah. And we can just keep adjusting and going forward gently, but clearly.
Yeah, that is great. And I think the thing to note here for those listening is that adjustment, because I think we often go, well, this was the plan, like, 2 months ago I was going to do all of this stuff, but then hey, like,
Yeah.
baby got sick, or this happened, or now something else has happened outside of work that it's pulled me away from all of the things that I thought I was meant to be focusing on outside of children and work, like, perhaps a family member, life happens, right? So constantly being aware
Life
of where we're
happens.
at, and then adjusting as we go, so that we have realistic expectations for the season of the time of our
Yeah.
life. So I absolutely love that. To wrap up, anything more you would like to say to our listeners around the tools that help us rise?
Yeah, look, I think if there was two lingering thoughts as we come out of this section, number one is you have to prioritize your well-being. You absolutely have to prioritize how you are taking care of yourself and the core fundamentals that you need to be resilient, to be able to renew yourself, to be able to do all of the things. And what is that for you? And there's heaps of tips and tools and strategies in the book. And then the last thing that I would say is I think we can all go more gently. We put so much pressure on ourselves. The world is so busy and chaotic and overloaded. And there's so much fear and anxiety in the world. And it's only increasing. So how do you bring some softness and some stillness and some gentleness into all aspects of your life, and particularly at home? How do you make your home the safe space, the safe, calm haven for everyone who resides in your home? And how do we calm our nervous systems and just bring it down a few notches? I think all of us can really do with an injection of that right now.
Yeah, I so hear you. And as you're speaking, I think about some of the things that I do or that I hear others do. And it's things like, if we can, regular exercise or moving our bodies so that we're not feeling so heavy with obviously the weight
Yeah.
of responsibility. It's things like, before I go to bed, I light a candle and I read my Kindle for about 20 minutes. Now, that is a privilege because I understand those with younger children. And I've only just recently been able to start that. And my youngest is 4.5. So those with younger children, it's impossible. But, that's my thing that I do for myself. So as you said, implementing these little things that we know, are going to improve the way in which we show up in the world, I think is absolutely critical in all of this too.
Yes, absolutely. And every section of that part 3 has little tips, just really small tips of things to try and implement. You may just pick one, but really focusing on, that well-being, how you feel, your nervous system, creating calm, whatever that looks like in your family situation is, something that's important for all of us.
Yeah, amazing. As I said to those listening, I'll be popping the details of the book in the show notes. So check it out there. Thank you so much, Megan, again for your time.
Thank you so much.